In this episode of our Tasmania series, we visit Cradle Mountain, Mole Creek Caves, Waratah, Rosebery and Montezuma Falls. We stayed at the Gowrie Park Wilderness Retreat to visit Cradle Mountain and then drove up about a 40-minute drive up to the information centre where you catch the shuttle bus to go to the Ronnie Creek and Dove Lake car park. The Crater Lake circuit climbs gradually through forested areas and goes past a waterfall and then up to Crater Lake, where you see the boathouse at Crater Lake and views up to the top of Cradle Mountain. You can continue on from there to go climbing to the peak of Cradle Mountain. We chose not to and went around off to the circuit that goes down to Dove Lake, passing past Lila Lake and Wombat Pool. After completing the Crater Lake circuit, we went on to do the Dove Lake circuit, which is a 6-kilometre grade 3 circuit that circumnavigates Dove Lake. From the peak of the lake, you can actually take another walk that goes up to climb Cradle Mountain from a different direction. Again, we didn't do that on this one, but it was a great walk to do. There are toilets at the car park there if you need them, and the shuttle bus runs 7 days a week to get you to and from Dove Lake. If the shuttle bus is running, you can't drive your car to the car park. The next day we returned to Cradle Mountain and stopped out at Dove Lake again, doing the circuit around the lake. We enjoyed it so much. Then we went out to the ranger station stop a few kilometres up the road and completed the Enchanted Walk, which is a 1.1 kilometre grade 2 easy walk. Great one with kids. Sort of like a little enchanted forest through there. And did the Kynvet Falls walk, which is on the opposite side of the road. Both of those are adjacent the Cradle Mountain Lodge. Kynvet Falls is beautiful. There's some steps along there. It's only a 1.5 kilometre grade 2 walk. Then we went over and did the King Billy Pine Track, which is a 2 kilometre grade 2 walk.
King Billy Pine Walk at Cradle Mountain.
King Billy pines are enormous trees that are only found in highland rainforests above 600 metres. It's estimated they lived for more than 1,000 years and were named after King Billy, an Aboriginal tribal leader of the Oyster Bay people.
Forested pine.
The next day we headed over to Sheffield. It's a rural hub at the Mount Roland area, and it's also known as the town of murals, with some great murals on display. Every year in April they host the International Mural Festival, and every October the Medieval Festival. We then went over to the Mole Creek Caves and looked at both caves, the Maracoopa Cave and the King Solomon's Cave. Each has a different feel about it, and the tours last about 45 minutes. You do need a degree of fitness because there's a lot of steps to go in and out of the caves, and they're only about 9 degrees I believe inside, so you do need to take some warm weather gear. In that area is also a lot of poppy growing industry. The poppies are opioid producing poppies, and Tasmania produces 50% of poppies used in opiates such as morphine and codeine. It's a heavily regulated industry and it's beautiful to see. We then packed up the van and headed over to Waratah. Waratah is a small town on the edge of the Tarkine wilderness area with a rich past in mining. It's also got a stunning waterfall in the middle of the town. There's a historic building walk that you can do and volunteers run the Waratah Courthouse Museum. You can also see the stamper mill in action. Worth visiting it. We then headed down to Strahan and left the van there while we did a few other activities backtracking. The first of which was Strahan ATV Tours. This was a 2-hour tour driving Polaris ATVs, hooning through Henty sand dunes with great views over the coast and Mount Hamescarrick and just having a blast. Unfortunately, this business is closed and is a victim of the COVID pandemic. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of when our next video comes out. We'll be doing more of Tasmania over the coming weeks and then revisiting a few other places we've been before starting our lap later in the year. Next up we stopped at Rosebery. Rosebery's another mining town north of Strahan on the west coast. It has an aerial ropeway that operated 50 years ago, with each bucket in the aerial ropeway carrying 310 kilos of ore into Rosebery for processing. There's also Roseberry Falls. You can see the top of the falls, but can't see much else. We stopped in Zeehan as well and had a look at the silver spray tunnel and all of the mining memorabilia in that area. And then went back to Strahan for the night and backtracked up to Montezuma Falls the day after. So this is the site of an old tramway line that went from this area down to Zeehan to transport mining and timber stuff. There's 60 bends per 2 kilometres in it. We're heading down to Montezuma Falls. The Montezuma Falls walk is an 8-kilometre return grade 2 walk that passes through thickly forested west coast country to one of the highest falls in Tasmania. In front of the falls is a great little suspension bridge to get a good viewing of the falls. It's a beautiful walk and is a must-do out of all of the walks in Tasmania. Stay tuned for our next episode where we go on the Gordon River cruises at Strahan. We go fishing at Macquarie Harbour, this time successfully, and we visit Queenstown as well as Nelson Falls. Remember to subscribe.